hello, and welcome to the Informed Traveler Podcast, a weekly travel podcast where our goal is to help you become a more informed traveler. And I'm your host, Randy Sharman. Renewing your passport has become a bit simpler as you can now renew it online. So in a few seconds, travel expert Onanta Forbes joins me to go through the process. And then we'll talk to the author of a new book titled Sales to Success: How a Cruise Ship Salesman Turned Jewelry, Stories, and Human Connection into a Life of Adventure. He's Rick Domanski, and he's sailed the world's oceans as a cruise ship sales professional, luxury retail promoter, and shopping expert. He was also my supervisor when I did the same job many years ago while working on the cruise ships. So we're going to talk about the cruise ship life, what we learned, and how he put it all together in his new book. It should be fun. But first, let's kick things off chatting with travel expert Onanta Forbes, who joins us each week to talk about the latest travel news, trends, and travel tips in general. You can follow her on Instagram, Facebook, and X at Onanta Forbes. OnantaForbes.com is her website. Hello, Onanta.
Hey, how are you?
I'm well, thank you. Some good news about passport renewals in the past week or so, where you can renew your passport online.
I think this is a great idea, and hopefully, I haven't gone through the process, but hopefully I can hear from travelers and listeners of the podcast what they think. But it's supposedly supposed to become a whole lot easier. And, some people have been putting it off because they just don't want to stand in line or deal with the mailing paperwork.
Mm-hmm.
So the federal government has expanded its online passport renewal to all eligible adult Canadians. And it's supposed to modernize passport services, reduce wait at passport offices, and make travel preparation more convenient. So eligible Canadians can now renew their passport. It's called the Immigration, Refugee, and Citizenship Canada. It's IRCC. It's an online portal, and it allows everything to happen from the comfort of your home. So to be eligible, you must be at least 16 years old, and when your current passport is issued, and it must be a regular 5 or 10-year adult passport that was issued in the last 15 years. And your passport must be expiring within the next 6 months or have expired more than 6 months ago. And I'm just going to interject here because previous to this, if your passport expired, it was not a renewal. It was like applying for a whole new passport, which encompassed more information and different other components that you had to do. So I think this is an interesting thing. From a personal perspective, I like getting the 10-year passport just because 5 years, you kind of have to start thinking about it within 4.5 years.
Yeah.
So it just gives you more value for your money. In addition to this new renewal process, it can't be damaged, lost, stolen, or your personal information, including your name, date of birth, place of birth, gender identifier, must remain the same. So if you changed any of these key personal information or applying for a child's passport, you need to use the regular application process. And it's you can do this application on your computer or mobile device. So most people have that. Maybe not a mobile device. Maybe there's some holdouts there. But hopefully most people have a computer. Or, I'm going to make a plug because I really enjoy having access to the Calgary Public Library. There's computers there that you can use as well. You can upload a digital passport photo that was taken in person by a commercial photographer, provide digital copies of any required supporting documents, complete the application, and pay securely online. So you don't have to print forms, there's no mailing paperwork, there's no standing in line, provided you're eligible. A few things to keep in mind before you apply. Online renewals are currently available only both if you have a home and mailing address in Canada. Don't leave your renewal until just before your trip. The government recommends using the online renewal service only if you don't need your passport for at least 20 business days plus mailing time. Once your application is accepted for processing, your current passport is canceled and you can no longer use it for travel. But the good news is you'll be able to track the process of your application online from start to finish. And then for seasoned travelers, you know this really well. Don't wait until your passport expires before checking it. Most countries require passports to be valid at least 6 months beyond your travel dates. And even if it's still technically valid, you could be denied boarding entry if it doesn't meet the destination's requirements. So
Hmm.
take a few extra minutes to make sure your digital passport photo meets all the government specifications. Incorrect or unacceptable photos remain one of the most common reasons passport applications are delayed. And actually, that happened to me when I did the passport in the regular process. I went to this location that's supposed to be known for taking their passports. Went to the passport office, and it was too dark, the photo. So luckily there was a photo stop downstairs, and I got it renewed and had to go back in line though. But
Hmm.
it does happen.
That happened to
And
me too.
really,
Yeah,
yeah,
there was
well,
a shadow in the above my head or something like that, and so
yeah,
they rejected it, and I had to get a new one.
I
But that
know.
was previous. Like I just renewed my passport just in the last fall, I think it was. So I'm good for another 9 years
Yeah,
before I have to do this all over again. But it is good news. By then, I hope they had ironed out all the bugs.
yes, absolutely. And then once your new passport arrives, don't tuck it away until your next trip. Sign it, make a secure digital copy of the identification page, and consider leaving another copy with a trusted family member or friend. Even if your passport is ever stolen or
Hmm.
lost while traveling, having this information readily available can make replacing it much easier.
Oh yeah.
Um, and it's also a good reminder. Your passport is only one part of your travel documentation. Before every international trip, check with whether your destination requires a visa, an electronic travel authorization, proof of onward travel, or other entry documents. And requirements can change, so it's worth reconfirming them before you book or you depart. And for families, just remember that the children's passports are not eligible for online renewal, and it has to be renewed through standard application process. And they have a shorter validity period than adults' passports. They are 5 years, where we could be 10 or 5 years as an
Hmm.
adult. And then if you do have a major international trip plan, don't rely on estimated processing times. So whenever possible, wait until your new passport is in hand before making non-refundable travel arrangements. Or if it's like 8 to a year in advance, I think you're safe then, but not if it's a month or so. Just be careful of that. We don't want any. Well, I've definitely seen it. Like there could be and it has happened, a strike with the passport office. That does
Yes.
really change processing times.
I wonder if this is a result of the backlash that the passport office received after all those complaints of
It
slow
was,
times.
yeah, some people were very frantic because they just
Hmm.
didn't know when their passport was coming. So, if that's a learning, that's a good learning. And it
It
was
is.
good that they took care of it, or they saw the issue and they adjusted accordingly, because I think it's really important.
Hmm.
Just to share with you current passport fees. So for a 5-year adult passport, it's $122.50. For a 10-year adult passport, it's $163.50, and for a child passport, it's $58.50. Additional fees apply for expedite, urgent, or overseas applications, and you can view the full details and submit payments through the of Canada passport portal.
It's always a good idea to check when your passport expires, because you don't want to have that panic situation when you're leaving and suddenly realize a couple of days before you go that your passport doesn't qualify or has expired. So, and even if you don't want to do the online one, it reduces the lineups, making the actual in-person application speedier, I would think, too.
Oh, that's a very good point. That's a good, I guess, result of this new process. So good point. I think where people that live in rural areas might enjoy this, because sometimes you would have to go into Calgary or
Oh,
into
yeah.
another destination. So I think rural Canadians might enjoy this too, as well.
Mm-hmm. Good stuff.
Yes.
Next week, you're going to be away, so give us a teaser.
Oh, yes. So I am lucky enough. We are traveling on the Oceania Vista. We are going through the UK and into different parts of Northern Europe. And hopefully we're going to get to see an eclipse that's there. So I'll get to tell you about, my trip over with WestJet, going into Belfast, and then starting my adventure for 15 days. So looking forward to it, telling you about the ship and the destinations.
Sounds exciting. Can't wait to hear about it. Onanta Forbes is a
Yeah,
travel expert. You can follow her adventures on Instagram, Facebook, and X at Onanta Forbes. And her website is onantaforbes.com. Looking forward to hearing more about your adventures next week. Thanks, Onanta.
have a good week.
This is the Informed Traveler Podcast. I'm Randy Sharman. Just want to remind you of our website, theinformedtraveler.org. That's where you can find our contact page if you have any questions or comments about the podcast. You can also email me, too, with any questions you might have. My email address is randy@theinformedtraveler.org. You can check out our social media pages, too, at facebook.com/informedtraveler, Instagram at informedtraveler, or on X at informedtraveler. That's where you'll find a number of videos and photos from our recent and past interviews and stories. Plus, you can sign up for our monthly newsletter. It's released at the beginning of every month. Our August issue is available now. Just go to our website, theinformedtraveler.org. Click on the newsletter button, and it'll take you right there. Or better yet, you can subscribe to it and have it arrive in your inbox each month. So over the years doing this show, I've had a few listeners ask me to share what it was like to live and work on board a cruise ship. And I was always hesitant because it was more than 20 years ago and a lot has changed in the cruise industry. But there's a new book out now titled Sales to Success: How a Cruise Ship Salesman Turned Jewelry, Stories, and Human Connection into a Life of Adventure. And the author just so happens to be my supervisor when I did the same job many years ago while working on cruise ships. He's Rick Domanski, and he's been a cruise ship sales professional, luxury retail promoter, and shopping expert for 35 years on the ships. So Rick joins me now to talk about cruise ship life, what he learned, and how he put it all together in his new book. So thanks for doing this, Rick. Welcome to the program.
Hey, Randy. Good to be with you.
Well, let's start right from the beginning. How did you get involved in this crazy world of living and working on a cruise ship?
It's kind of a unique situation how I got started. I was man about town in Chicago. I'm originally from the Steel City of Gary, Indiana, on the southeast side of Chicago, right in that area where they're thinking they might move the new Chicago Bears Stadium in Northwest Indiana. Went to Indiana University and majored in communications. That's a good place for me. Science and mathematics were not my forte. Talking, I think, is my game. Then I went to Chicago and got a job in advertising, got a job in media, and sold spots for Century Broadcasting. Did a lot of work around town, did ring announcing for a variety of independent and professional wrestling organizations, owned a small part of a recording studio called Studio West. We had a band called Clone that I still think should have made it, but, that's the business. But they toured around the Midwest, some great pop music. And then one day, a friend of mine, Dave Freeman, and Dave is still the jazz master of Chicago. He was on Chicago Jazz Radio 106 for many, many years in public broadcasting and so forth. And Dave collaborated with me on quite a few music projects. Some of the big blues names that you might know, people like Buddy Guy, Junior Wells, Lefty Diz, Coco Taylor,
Mm-hmm.
and Pine Top Perkins, and on goes the list. A big part of my life. And Dave and I were very close. He went to a Mother's Day dinner in 1991, and his mother knew another mother who walked in with her daughter, Barbara. And the two moms, like, oh my God, Wendy, yeah, nice to see you, and this and that. They joined tables and had a wonderful time. And Barbara, of course, was chatting up Dave. And she said, Dave, I understand that you're a big star on the radio and so forth, and live music and this and that. And Dave said, well, I don't want to be modest or whatever. She goes, listen, we've got this new position called port lecturer on the cruise ships. It's somebody who's in charge of the tax and duty-free shopping. And you make presentations on board. You're in charge of a program. You work with all the merchants in the ports. And just think about it, the sun and the fun, seeing all those beautiful islands. You're a young guy, the ladies, what can I say? And Dave said, no, I've got too many commitments. I've got a wife here, but I'm going to tell you something. I've got your guy. And that night, he called me, Randy, and said, Rick, your ship has literally sailed in. And 3 days later, I auditioned. 3 weeks later, I was in Miami Beach for extensive training. And then shortly thereafter, I joined my first ship, the wonderful old SS Azure Seas. And that started 35 years at sea.
Well, I've read your book, Sales to Success. The thing I liked about it, it's a short read. Like, you're not investing a ton of time in this, which is good for someone like me. but you get
for everybody.
Right, but you get to the point and you don't mince words, and I like that. And I think it gives time for the readers to absorb what you're saying a little bit. And I should say too, I think I look at this book differently than most people might look at it, because I've done your job, and people should know that you were my boss. So I know where you're coming from, where many other people may not know where you're coming from. But it's not just about sales and cruise ship life. It's about, like, you tie things in together about just life in general.
Well, what we try to do is pack the book with true stories. It has to be true. And quite frankly, a lot of what happened out there is stranger than fiction.
Yeah,
There was no
you couldn't make
problem
this stuff up.
telling true stories, because the true stories were better than anything anybody could make up. We try to get into practical lessons, proven principles, and then bring it into a bit of a philosophy. Because, what you look at is the tactics, the mindset, the heart that turns everyday interactions into what we experience, which were extraordinary results. And it all comes down to this. And this is what you learned out there, Randy, what I learned out there, what dawns on most people when they get into the business and actually spend some time with it, that success begins with human connection.
Mm-hmm.
That is the beginnings of it, because I firmly believe that cruising for the money is the best vacation on planet Earth. And of course, the ship, and my goodness, I know the ships that you and I sailed on. I older than you. I had one foot in the old school. The industry upgraded and modified, and the ships became bigger and better. And right now they're floating resorts. But what we learned there, and what I learned there, is that people are social creatures. And what cruising does for people, whether you're an introvert, whether you're just shy, when you go on a cruise, by the time you leave after your traditional 7-day cruise, you're a bit of a different person, because it's a people person connecting function. I don't care if it's the casino. I don't care if it's the grandma's bragging party. Remember that one? Whether it's going to be trivia contests, whether it's going to be dining with the same folks on the early or the late seating, going on tours with people, seeing new things, or just waiting in line to get off the ship.
Mm-hmm.
The thing about it is you're going to be forced to be with your fellow man, like it or not. And after a day or so of that, 99.9% of everybody says, I don't like it. I love it.
I was going to say that too. I agree with you wholeheartedly. It is the best vacation for your money, and I always say that. And one of the things that stood out for me in your book was the chapter where you call cruise ship life becomes its own world. And I think you talk about one of your mentors and he was saying to you, if you stay longer than 5 years, you're going to be stuck in there, not in a bad way. But I agree with that. It stuck with me because I did it for 2.5 years, certainly not 35 like you did, but I could already feel it. Every time I came home, it was harder to relate to people that live the normal routine, because people should know, like, when you're on a cruise ship, as soon as you step out your cabin door, you're on. And it may sound like you're working 24/7. You don't, because you don't have any days off, but you have a lot of downtime because you're not wasting time cooking. You're not wasting time doing laundry. You know what I mean? You're not grocery shopping. You're not vacuuming or cleaning. So you do have a lot of spare time.
Well, the thing about it is what amazed me when I first got on board, even though it was an old school ship, the Azure Seas, we used to have to take our laundry up the hill in Puerto Rico to the laundromat.
So things did change by the time I got on.
But in this day and age, the crew bars, the gymnasiums, the laundry facilities, and what have you for the crew is really, really good. The thing I tell people, they're like, the one thing I did not miss in being in Chicago is commuting.
Yes.
You're not in a car. I mean, you live where you work. You walk outside your door. And that's one thing I told people, that, underneath the deck, when you get down below the Fiesta deck, which is maybe a deck 4, down below that, you're going to have the crew quarters, the crew decks, what they call I-95, that long runway that so many of the crew areas come off of that, the crew messes, the gyms, this and that. It's a separate and different world, a multicultural world, a happy world, because you have to be happy or you're going to go home. That's just the way it is.
Mm-hmm.
But the thing about it is, you save a lot of money. There's no rent involved. Like you say, there's no grocery shopping involved. All the money that you make is money that you keep.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a very, very good thing. And but the thing about it is, it's seductive. The thing is, if it's Wednesday, well, we must be in Grand Cayman.
Yeah, exactly.
And your life is kind of planned for you. You know what's going to happen. A lot of the uncertainty of life is taken out, because you have, when you get on board that first night, you're going to meet the new people.
Mm-hmm.
Whether you're helping out with shore excursions or this or that, I always did, because I met a lot of folks.
Mm-hmm.
And promote your first shopping talk, which is usually going to be on the first sea day, earlier in the day. Later in the day, you're going to have a diamond and gemstone seminar. In the evenings, prior to the ports of call, you're going to have those office hours on the main deck, where you meet and greet people and give them the personal attention that they really love and that they deserve. Then you're going into your port days, and you're going to be the first guy off that ship. Then you're going to head into the stores. I don't know. I mean, think about it. I had 9 merchants in San Juan, at 29 to 31 in St. Thomas, and then around about 9-10 in Nassau. You go to the other side of the Caribbean, the 14-15 in Jamaica, Montego Bay, or Ocho Rios. You've got about 30 in Grand Cayman. the luxury shopping capital of the Caribbean. And then Cozumel is just off the chain. What they've done there with everything, the tours, the shopping, the diving, the Mayan culture and everything. It's just, I don't know. I know you know this, Randy, but I think most people, they would say, what's the most visited place in all of Mexico by tourists? We say Mexico City or Puerto Vallarta or something like that. No, the answer is Cozumel.
Mm,
With all of those cruise ships, you've got 4 or 5 ships there every day, except
yeah.
Sunday, because it is Mexico after all, a day of rest in the good Lord. But every other day, it is jam-packed. And you combine that with the legendary dive industry and all of the timeshare and all of the
Hmm.
condos and everything like that. People might not be there for a long time, but they're there for a good time, and they are there. And it is amazing the amount of people that visit Mexico and get their first taste of it in Cozumel. And once you have a taste, you want to come back.
Did you have a favorite port? You mentioned Cozumel, and Cozumel, for people who haven't been there, it's like for someone doing the job of that we were doing, a port and shopping guide where you go visit all these stores. It wasn't a loop. You had to either start one way, and it was a one-way walk either back to the
Yeah.
ship, like it was a long walk. And I always started at the furthest distance first because I knew by the time I got to the last store, my bags would be packed full of promotional items and all kinds of things. But did
You're like
you
a
have a
packed
favorite?
mule going back to the ship.
That is exactly right. Did you have a favorite port, though? I loved St. Lucia.
You know what? I was just in San Lucia with my last assignment. And, St. Lucia or San Lucia, as they say in the idiom, very, very British still. There's quite a
Mm.
bit of
Hmm.
the old colonial um, atmosphere there. It's a beautiful, beautiful island. A little slower, a little bit more laid back, a little bit more traditional. 2 different cruise ship terminals. It really depends on where you're going to dock, how you're going to experience the island. But I'm with you. I love San Lucia. It's funny. You have little favorite things about
Hmm.
different islands that make them special for you. I have to say, I will always, always love St. Thomas, Charlotte Amalie, or Charlotte Amalia, if you
Hmm.
will, depending if
Hmm.
you have a Norwegian or an Italian captain. But it's the wonderland of duty-free shopping. And back in the day, before Costco, before shopping television, before the internet, if you wanted a good deal on a diamond ring, you went to St. Thomas. I
Yes.
mean,
Yeah.
back in the 90s, before everything changed, it's still very, very powerful and strong today. But it's a volcanic island, 12 miles long by 8 miles across, and straight up and down, winding roads, beautiful, beautiful beaches, azure blue water, wonderful people. It's the USA. I always liked that because I could go to the post office, I could go to the bank. It
Hmm.
was all US, all the way. I loved it because it was major league. Another one I'm going to tell you, and this one is not going to be on most people's list, and I'm going to put it there because it was wonderful to me, and that was Montego Bay, Jamaica.
Yeah, I've been there. I enjoyed my time there. Yeah.
And I'll tell you, Jamaica, to me, is one of the most incredible, magical places on earth. You have this island with about 3 million people, and think how powerful it is. The cuisine of Jamaica. They have 2 or 3 musical genres, reggae, reggaeton, ska, and so forth. Who in the world in the middle of the Caribbean has a bobsledding team in the Olympics? You know what I mean? I mean, these people are strong, strong people. It's a multicultural environment. Um, it's not perfect for everybody. The people are very, very aggressive, that's for sure, because there's not enough money for everybody. Somebody will find a stick on the ground and try to sell it to you. In Montego Bay, we had some of the native Jamaican folks, but we also had what I called the Bengal Tigers, the great Sindhi Indian merchants at the city center, and the same thing in Ocho Rios and throughout the Caribbean. Many people may not know why all of these jewelry stores, of course, you have different operators, but hundreds of these locations throughout the Caribbean are run by Indian families from the old province of Sindhi. The Caribbean would not be the same without the wonderful Sindhi merchants. We have our wonderful Jewish merchants from the Diamond District. Some of the biggest concerns like Diamonds International and Effie. And then on the Mexican side, you've got some of the big Mexican operators. And all three groups were unique. They had some cultural proclivities and differences, but at the end of the day, they all wanted to sell. They all wanted to grow. They all wanted to support their family. And they all wanted to take care of our honored guests in a big way. I love them for it. They were great for you. They were great for me, and still great for everybody.
Well, to that point, though, I think that goes back to what you're talking about in your book, human connection, and you do a chapter on that, just talking about ship life etiquette and just how important it is to get along from people from all over the world and find some sort of common ground, right?
Well, the great poet Maya Angelou, she is very famous for these words. You are more like my friend. We are more like my friends than we are unalike. We are more like my friends than we are unalike. On any given cruise ship today, there is going to be over 50 different nationalities, all working in harmony to keep that big ship going and to keep the fun happening and to keep the big wheel turning and keep the revenue moving. It is a benevolent dictatorship. The captain is known as the master of the vessel, and he is that. A lot of people just think he navigates the ship. That's wrong. He is the man, or in this day and age, she is the boss. Because and we do have some wonderful female captains in this day and age have worked their way up to that wonderful position. But the thing about it is that, a staff captain told me once that if you fight, you both go home.
Yes.
If you steal, we're going to put you in jail.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe you can work something out. And then, you bring the illegal stuff on board, then you're really in trouble. You're going home, or you could be making a stop at the Huska before you even get there. So the fact of the matter is you have to behave. Now, look, and I know, every ship's got a crew bar. Some of them are legendary. I mean, I'm alcohol free at this point in time. My doctor tells me I have to, and my doctor's right. And my wife backs up my doctor, so that makes it double right. But come on. When I think of the legendary parties that we had on board and the good times we had and the wonderful relationships we made, and, I'm still in contact with so many of these folks. I will say this, social media has been fantastic for that. It's put all of us in connection with each other and made it so easy to communicate that it really is a blessing. But on board the ship, you better go along to get along or you're going to go home.
Yes.
That's just the way it is. The threat of that, it keeps people in line. There's always a few outliers, and they learn very quickly. But you know what? It makes people better.
Yeah. When
you are exposed to all of these different folks from different places, like we say in the book, when I went on the Crown Princess, the port lecturer had an assistant, as you know, and I had a wonderful guy, and he introduced me to all the Filipinos on board. And the first thing he did is take me to the Filipino mess, where as you know, no rice, no power. 2 or 3 gigantic rice cookers laid out in all of the Filipino cuisine. It starts with adobo and moves on from there. The thing about it is, I learned about Filipino life. I learned, a few cursory phrases in Tagalog or Tagalog, if you will. But I
Hmm.
learned that the Filipinos, and I think you'll agree with me, we can't run the cruise ship industry without our Filipino
Oh,
friends.
for sure.
Uh, no, and I mean, if you've ever had a Filipino room steward or encountered them in the restaurants, in the buffets, or just around, you know how sweet they are. And the cool thing is, they all speak English, because when the United States took over the Philippines in a colonial sense from the Spanish, we put in a policy. The United States invested a lot of money in the infrastructure of the Philippines. But one of the things, and I don't know, this would be a little controversial in today, but it worked out beautifully for the Philippines, is that you learn Tagalog at home, as you're growing up. But once you go to school, everything's taught in English.
Hmm.
So everybody in that country, that great nation, is basically bilingual. So by having the gift of the English language and the tireless uh, work ethic and sweet personality, the Filipinos, they run the ship like a family. Staff captain does not have to do much. You only have to deal with one gentleman and one lady, the mother and the father, if somebody's not doing right, and then they'll take care of it. It's kind of a unique way that things are handled. And with some of the ethnic groups, it is done that way on board the ship. But the thing about it is, in 2017, the good Lord blessed me. I had never been married, a couple of uh, serious relationships over the years, but for whatever reason, never came to a marriage. And I met a beautiful young lady, Nicole Inidia, on a blind date in 2017. Love at first sight. And we went through all of the legal machinations that we do, a couple of visits to the Philippines, and
Hmm.
all of the legal work, you do with the immigration folks, and all of that business. And we were married in 2019, and it has been a blessing. But one thing, my wife was really amazed at how much I knew about Filipino cuisine,
Hmm.
Filipino culture,
Hmm.
even a few fun words in Tagalog and everything like that. And that goes back to my beautiful friends, starting on the Crown Princess and all those many, many ships, that part of that culture. And it's funny how things that happen earlier in your life come back to be of great benefit later in life. And that has been a blessing to me. So, hey, no rice, no power, right?
No rice, no power. So, if you were at a party or something and someone was thinking about taking a cruise for the first time, what would you say to them?
Well, okay. This is what I would say to you. Depending on your uh, taste for wild and crazy, loud, whatever, if you are parents with children and you want to have a good time, you cannot go wrong with Royal Caribbean, Norwegian Cruise Line, Disney Cruise Line. Uh, these are mass appeal cruise lines with water slides. It's loud. There's all sorts of activity, and if you want to go to the probably the most energetic of all, that's going to be Carnival, without a doubt. It is a floating party, but a good time. It's not the old Carnival. The discipline um, has been enforced. I know Christine Duffy, the president of Carnival, she's had enough of the nonsense. You got to behave yourself, friends. I'm telling you that right now. But
Hmm.
if you're uh, older and you like to have a little more elegance and a little more peace and quiet, and but have all of the amenities and a good time, you just cannot go wrong with the Holland America line. Uh, Celebrity Cruise Line is very, very good along those lines. Above that, you have all your super premiums, of course. With that kind of a ticket, it's going to be pretty much an adult cruise, and a little bit quieter. But the thing is, work with a good travel agent. Uh, just going on the internet and sharp shooting a number, you might disappoint yourself
Mm-hmm.
because every cruise ship is subtly different. Every cruise line is a different brand, and every itinerary really makes a big difference. Even if you're, the Eastern Caribbean is quite a bit. I mean, it's a variation on a common theme, but I've always found it to be more touristy and quiet than the Western Caribbean, which I always found to be more active
Mm-hmm.
oriented.
Mm-hmm.
So, the thing about it is, I really am truly a big fan of the travel agents, and go with a big time pro who knows everything. They've got the leverage, they've got the knowledge. Do some research because you can really optimize your experience by choosing correctly. It's
Mm-hmm.
not just about the fare, it's about the experience as well.
Do you have any insider information, some tips for people who want to do some shopping when they're on a cruise?
Yeah, definitely. One thing I can tell you, Randy, in all honesty, there's a million things in this world that I don't know about, but about this I know. Now, if you're going to go out there and shop, the first thing is you're just not shopping for jewelry or souvenirs or apparel or what have you. It's really the perfect evocative keepsake of a very memorable point in time in your life. You'll remember that cruise forever. Every time you look at that Tanzanite ring, whatever's happening that day, you'll be transported back to the Caribbean or Alaska or old Mexico, and you can enjoy some nice memories. But there's a best way to achieve that memory. And I am telling folks absolutely 100%, if you're going to do some shopping, and hey, everybody is, the first thing, go to the recommended and guaranteed shopping presentation on board the ship conducted by your port and shopping guide. They're going to give you the lay of the land. They're going to give you a recommended and guaranteed shopping map where every single merchant on that map has given the cruise line an ironclad guarantee of satisfaction and authenticity and workmanship, so you can shop with confidence. That'll be pretty much on the first sea day. Then later in the afternoon, they're going to have a diamond and exotic gemstone seminar with the same port and shopping guide. Go to that event and learn about the 4Cs, the color, cut, clarity, and carat weight, about purchasing a diamond. There's a wealth of information that they're going to put forth to you to kind of get you in the ball game. And then later that evening, that port and shopping guide will have office hours. They have their own little office set up somewhere. And go to that person and say, listen, I attended the events. I have the map. I have my heart set on this. And tell them, this is my budget. Give me some guidance. And they will do that. You tell them what's possible, and they will tell you what you can achieve. Now, I always say that the number three, you want to check three different places because let's face it, out of competition comes value.
Mm-hmm.
Go price those items in three of the, make sure you go to the big guys and mix in a family merchant as well and see what's possible. And then you can make your decision. Don't go past three because honestly, three is the number. You're going to have all the competition you need, all the selection you need, all the price points that you need to make your get recommended and guaranteed selection. So do it that way. And also, when you come back to the ship, show the port and shopping guide what you were able to achieve and have a little chit chat about it. If you do it that way, I promise you, you're going to be satisfied.
Where do people get your book?
Well, Sales to Success is available right now on Amazon KDP, and it's also available on Barnes and Noble Booksellers.com. And there's a wealth of stories in the book. And I'm going to take you behind the curtain a little bit. We're going to give you a little peek into the inside. And I think it's valuable for all, not only in vacationing, but some stories about what I've learned about life over these past 35 years. We hope everybody picks it up. It's a good read, and as you say, it's not War and Peace, but it's a quick read, but it's a fun read, and I think it's a valuable read. And we just tell everybody everything adds up to one thing: sales to success, and maybe everything in life all comes down to the human connection.
And people can follow you as well on Facebook.
Yes, we invite everybody to join us on our Sales, Success, and Human Connection Facebook page. Lots of features on there. I have a little feature, and then we just put it out there this week. It's called Coffee with Rick. And we sit down and have a cup of coffee and answer in depth one of the questions that's submitted. And we're going to be doing that on a weekly basis, so feel free to submit your question and perhaps you'll be featured. But there's a lot there. We want to bond with people. We want to make friends because, after all, Randy, it's about the human connection.
It is about the human connection. That is Rick Domanski, author of his new book, Sales to Success, How a Cruise Ship Salesman Turned Jewelry, Stories, and Human Connection into a Life of Adventure.
Randy, I want to thank you for your friendship. I want to thank you for having me on. And it's an outstanding podcast, and hope to be with you sometime again in the future.
For sure. Rick Domanski, thank you very much, sir.
See you later, brother.
And that is our show for this week. If you have comments or questions, we'd love to hear from you. If you have a show idea, send that along as well. My email is randy@theinformedtraveler.org. And if you like what you heard, tell a friend. You can check out our website too at theinformedtraveler.org. In the meantime, thanks for listening, travel safe, and be an informed traveler.